to now, most of my videos have been about dealing with depression, anxiety, and living with cerebral palsy. But this video is going to be a little bit different. This is a career video. I'm currently in school and I'm a communication sciences and disorders major. And my goal is to eventually become a speech language pathologist. Now I'm currently in my junior year. And one of the reasons I decided to make this video is not only to kind of document and talk about my progress, so that I have something to look back on when I finally achieve my goal, but also because I realize that many of the videos out there talk about getting into SLP grad school and the life of an SLP grad student, but not many of them delve into the undergraduate experience and being a communication sciences and disorders major. So that's what this video is about. This is going to be a multiple part video, and in this video I'm going to talk about my background mostly and how I came across the field and why I decided to pursue a career in speech pathology. I'm in Southern California, currently attending the University of Rutland's Communication Sciences and Disorders program. And I did my first 2 years, so my freshman and my sophomore year, at a community college. And then I transferred to university, where I'm at right now. And I didn't always know that I wanted to be an SLP. In fact, I think I speak for many people, and I've heard this over and over again in videos, that I didn't even know what an SLP was, which is kind of weird because I attended adapted education and speech therapy as a child, but I didn't really know that a speech therapist was referred to as an SLP, or a speech language pathologist. To be honest, the career choice didn't even cross my mind until recently. I wasn't always sure what I wanted to do. I knew that I loved to write. English was always my favorite subject. Psychology also interested me, and child development and teaching and working with children, because I grew up kind of helping my little sister with school and tutoring my nieces and nephews, and I guess I always had a knack for working with children, even now as I have my son who's 7 years old. I've always had social anxiety, and so that always kind of held me back, and I always thought, I don't think I can handle a room full of kids, and I don't think I can handle constant parent-teacher meetings. And so what I did for the first 2 years is I kind of went a completely different direction, and while I was in community college, I started getting into graphic design because I've always been good with Photoshop, so I kind of wanted to sharpen my skills. So I went that direction. I actually got a certificate for graphic design and sold invitations and custom t-shirts and that kind of stuff on Etsy. And I mean, that was okay for passive income or like a part-time hobby type of thing, but I knew realistically that I wasn't going to be able to make a living out of that. And I also knew that although I enjoyed it, I wanted to do something more meaningful with my life where I directly impacted and made a difference in other people's lives. So in 2018, after a major panic attack and finally seeking help for my depression and anxiety, which is an everyday struggle, I finally realized that one of the reasons that I kind of went the opposite direction of what I actually wanted to do was because I was letting my social anxiety hold me back big time. And I've always been kind of introverted, but I think it's the anxiety more than anything that held me back from ever even thinking that I could be an educator, a teacher, or whatnot. Anyway, I got my certificate from the community college at the graphic design, but while I was doing that, I was also exploring my other interests. So I also took courses in psychology, child development. I took an observation course where I got to observe a preschool setting for 3 hours a day. And that's one of the great things about community college, is that if you're not 100% sure what you want to do, you can always explore options, take courses that you might be interested in, and at a much lower cost. Or in California, at least in my case, it was completely free because community college is free in California. So if you're not 100% sure of your career choice, I always recommend that you start off at the community college level. Anyway, so I eventually took a couple of career assessments, and there's a bunch of them online that you can find. And they came back with the results being the careers that I talked about previously, writing, teaching, counseling, psychology. And in one of those lists was speech language pathologist. So I decided to look into it further. And that's when I realized, okay, this is what I want to do. Aside from having been in speech therapy myself, my dad stutters, and I have a few nieces and nephews who also have speech and language disorders. So it's something that I've kind of been around all my life, and I've always been interested in what can I do, how can I help them. And that's one of the things that SLPs do. They treat speech and language disorders, among other things like swallowing disorders and voice disorders, and just an array of things. And so it's a very flexible career. You can work in a school setting, a clinical setting, skilled nursing facility, etc. And one of the things that really interested me about this career is that I felt it was kind of the middle ground between all the fields that I was interested in. Obviously, working with children, there's a child development aspect of it, and there's also the psychology of it, because there is some counseling that also goes along with it, as well as writing. I would say that you have to have some pretty decent writing skills, because you're going to be writing plenty of reports and IEPs. As an introvert and somebody who has social anxiety and kind of needs a lot of downtime, I feel that working in a school setting would be perfect for that, because I think they only work something like 184 calendar days a year, and the rest of the time is, summer break, federal holidays, so there's always something to kind of look forward to, or some break or some downtime to kind of look forward to, which I feel that I'm really going to need. Not to downplay everything that school SLPs do, because I know that their paperwork is heavy and that they often end up having to take work home a lot of the time. And so that's kind of how I learned about the field and how I got into it. And in my next video, I'm going to discuss what my first 2 semesters have been like so far, and what courses I've taken, and just talk a little bit about that experience.